Welcome to Winie Student World. My name is Winie, and we have another exciting session today. Happy New Year! Happy New Year, everyone. It's so good to be here. So we are talking about mental health today, especially as it relates to us international students and professionals and people living in the diaspora. That is our conversation today. And we have a very special guest who I can't wait for you all to meet her. Dara is a very cool individual. She is also a very good friend outside, the online world. And we have had our own conversations related to mental health, offline. And I really wanted her to come today and share some of her experiences and both of us to chit chat about our experiences and also the things that we have learned since both moving from Nigeria about mental health and the steps that you can take as an international student to make sure that you're healthy and the resources that are available if you need help, and it's okay to need help. Okay, welcome everybody. Like I said, Dara is an amazing person. She is going to introduce herself in a bit. But if I'm just going to blow her horn a little bit, she is Nigerian because Nigerians are cool. Go and argue with yourself. She's also Yoruba because Yorubas are the best people in Nigeria. So go argue with yourself. Okay, I'm kidding. Dara has, completed her bachelor's and her master's in the US. She is going on to do some more amazing things. Maybe she'll share with us here today or not. She is also very passionate about mental health. She has started an organization, Girls Living Freely, and she's going to tell us more about that. And we are going to talk about what it means and how we also came out of the stigma and all the shenanigans related to mental health and started to actually seek help and, be okay talking about things like anxiety and depression and recognizing it and it being okay to acknowledge those things, especially when you are coming from an African community where you either pray about everything or you don't talk about anything. So, without wasting any more time, Dara, take us away. Take this.
Okay. So my name is Dara Fadelias. Winie has said, and I currently live in Denton, Texas. I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. I grew up there, and I moved to the United States in 2014. What else? I have a bachelor's degree in biology and a master's degree in biomedical science, all from the United States. I started my own NGO, Girls Living Fully and Freely, and basically I started this organization because I'm passionate about adolescent girls. And basically, from personal experience, I know how it feels to struggle with just depression, anxiety, and even some abuse, sexual, physical abuse. And I know that many girls, when they go through these kind of experiences, they don't find help, they don't recover from these experiences. I take it on into the adulthood, and that's something that I do not like because girls are essential parts of our society. And if our society is not healthy, if girls are not healthy, we can have a perfectly healthy society. So I decided to take this upon myself to help girls connect, to help reach out to girls, and also spread positive messages on Instagram about girls and all of the power that we have to do amazing stuff, and of course to live our lives freely and fully. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Yay! You are an awesome individual, which that. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for that introduction about you. Girls are truly an important part of our society, but for the purpose of our conversation today, I just want to let you know that all the men are involved in this conversation because mental health is not just a female thing. Please, you all are a part of it. I want you to chime in as we have these conversations, especially because I feel like if there is stigma related to mental health conversation in African communities, worse in African male communities, and that is something that we are going to also talk about today, hopefully as best as we can, because we are both lovely women. but we're going to talk about it as much as we can. But yes, kudos to you, Dara, and your amazing organization and all the cool things that you are doing. So we're going to just dive in because everybody is here. We're ready to rock and roll. In fact, are you drinking anything? If you are, introduce it. I brought you water. I was going to say, this one that is early January, and everybody has made commitments to be fit farm. So let me follow too. So I'm also drinking water today. I'm behaving myself.
Trying to lose Christmas 10 pounds.
10 pounds, is that your goal?
Yeah, I gained 10 pounds from Christmas until now. That's crazy, I know. I'm trying to lose 10 pounds and then see how far we can go throughout the year.
Got it. So that they live close to you.
We should hang out something.
So let's dive into the meat of our conversation. So you kind of already gave like a summary of your academic qualifications. So give us a summary of your journey to becoming an international student. What was like a quick dirty how you went from being in Nigeria and in Lagos to being in America for the past 6 or 7 years?
Okay, so basically, I always knew that I wanted to leave Nigeria for higher education. My sister had gone to Canada like 2 years prior to coming here for me. And so I knew that it was going to happen for me. I just did not know to which country. I was most interested in coming to the United States because, it was America. Why not? So that was my reason. I wanted to come to America because it was America. And so I began to prepare. I wrote the SATs with my wife, just all of those exams I had to take. I applied to schools and eventually made the decision to go to new university. And that decision was based on different things like money and location and just where I knew people, had family and friends. And so I decided to come to the United States to leave university in Cleveland, Tennessee in 2014. And then I arrived to the United States with my family. I was excited. Went to school, got my bachelor's degree, and then went on to get my first OPT work, went on to get my master's, and now I'm currently working on my graduate OPT, if that makes any sense.
Yay. Congrats. And
thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Okay. So, when did you realize that mental health was a thing or even important to discuss or talk about?
Okay, so you know how you already, since you were children in Lagos, if you grew up in Lagos or anywhere in Nigeria, you would see, in quote, mad people. You see them like roam the streets. You see them chase after people. You see them just do things that you thought were crazy. But at that time, I just thought they were crazy people. I didn't think much of it. It was either that they were cursed or they were just mad. I wasn't mature enough to really think about what was happening to those people at that time. So it took me coming to the United States and going through my own experiences for me to actually realize that, okay, well, mental health is a thing and it is actually very important. And then that was in 2017, August 2017, after I began to suffer personally. I suffered for a very long time prior to then, but I didn't know what was happening. I was just like, okay, I'm not okay. I'm just a strange person. But then it took me like many years up until 2017 for me to actually realize that this is a thing. This is like my mental health is not okay and I need to get help. And that was the moment I realized that mental health is important and should be spoken about and just paid attention to. Yeah.
Wow. I think my own experience is similar to you. Like growing up, like you just see people on the streets and you know them as mad people. And there was also this very popular opinion that the reason that they were on the street was that they were smoking Igbo, which is weed, marijuana. And I have very fond memories of as adults, I and my brothers argue with my parents that people don't just smoke weed and then run mad.
I know.
And I remember how often that we thought that, and I think for me it was a kind of a slow process. So it was coming in and realizing, okay, because I went to nursing school for undergrad and there was a mental health part of my training as a nurse, and so I'm learning about all these diseases and all these treatments and other things, and it's like, okay, people could actually be sick, but it was kind of starting to click that like, no, this is like something that could happen to anybody. Like it, just like people could get hypertension or diabetes, they could also be diagnosed with depression or anxiety or schizophrenia. And then now starting to see it, happen around me to people that I know and care about, and also to the point where I started to identify, oh, okay, this is how I feel today. There's an actual name for it. Like, I'm not just, not myself or feeling weird. Like, yes, you are anxious today, and it's a mental health or mental health condition. And if you're anxious for a prolonged period, then you could talk to somebody about it and get help, and it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like mine has been like a progression to get to this point where it's like, okay, mental health is me. I will be mentally healthy, and the steps that I need to take to do that.
Yes. It just reminds me of something I was thinking about earlier. So it's like, it's something that happens to them. So coming from Nigeria, being black, it's like it's a white man disease. Depression is a white man disease. It happens to white people because they are not strong, or they are not. They like to pretend or just gain attention. Like all of these things, we heard them. And so when I personally began to struggle with my mental health, it was like, I'm not white. Why am I struggling? That was what it was for me. Why am I struggling? Why am I having these feelings? Why am I going through these things? So my default reaction was to hide. Like hide these things, pretend, and just kind of just tuck them away. I don't want anyone to know. I don't want anyone to see me vulnerable because I'm not white. Or when you say certain things like, well, I feel depressed today, or like, I didn't really understand what was going on, but I would say that I felt really sad, and somebody would say, well, like, Nigeria, know they carry last, something like that. Like, you're Nigerian, you should be strong. And in my mind, being strong was, okay, hiding it away, or just laughing, just trying to give like a surface level smile, and then deep down I was dying. And so that's something that I actually think that we should just be aware of. I know that it's not a white person disease. It doesn't happen to them. It can happen to anyone. It's just like your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your intellectual health, your social health are equal aspects of your overall health. And like, you should not pay attention to one over the other. You should not pay attention to your physical health over your mental health, because it's very normal to have a headache. I could have a headache and call Winie and say, Winie, I have a headache. Nurse Winie, what should I do? Yeah. And Winie will say, okay, go and take ibuprofen. But then, like, people will struggle to say, oh, Winie, I feel depressed today. What should I do? Like, people wouldn't say that because it's like, okay, I don't want to let Winie know that I'm depressed. I want to hide this to myself and keep this to myself. And that's not okay. That's not how you should be able to admit that something might be wrong with your mental health. And of course, even before something starts to get wrong with your mental health, you need to pay attention to your mental health. Like, you wait to have diabetes before you go for a physical checkup. You don't need to be almost dying to go to your doctor. You go to your doctor periodically, at least if you're good with your physical health. You should go to your doctor at least once a year to get a physical. Sometimes you don't do that. You should try to make sure that periodically your mental health is up to par, and like every other part of your health is also up to par. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Snap. I love it. The next question ties into what we're already talking about, is what are the lies or negative stereotypes associated with mental health or mental illness?
Okay, there's a lot. But I don't remember everything, because I don't know everything. But I'll tell you the ones that I personally I've heard people have said to me and just made me angry. Anyway, so there's a lot of, so it's layered in different ways, if that makes sense. So the self-stigma, the one where you personally have these labels or these feelings towards yourself because of a medical term or a diagnosis. There's the public stigma, the ones that people tell you, the ones that you hear, and there's I cannot talk, so pardon me if I can't say this word properly, but it's this institutionalized stigma.
Yes.
Where it's almost systematic with healthcare, where is health insurances don't cover getting help, or you can't even get a bed space in a hospital because your disease is not physical. It's in different layers, and they all kind of tie into each other. So the one that I heard from people would be that first of all, it's you're lying.
Yeah.
I don't know why I would lie that I'm depressed. It takes coming from my background, being Nigerian, being Christian, with parents who are pastors, it was I lie that I feel that way, because it took a great deal of vulnerability. I was So like where I was at that time, I was a leader of like many organizations on my campus. I was, a very active student leader on campus. So coming to that point of acknowledging that I was not okay, I couldn't have been lying because it was. I mean, I felt very vulnerable. So it was, you're lying, and that's what many people tell people who are suffering. You're lying. To anyone who's suffering, people say that you're trying to gather attention. You're trying to seek attention from people, gather pity. You're trying to. No one likes to be pitied.
Yeah.
You're trying to, or you're incompetent. You're unmotivated. You're, what else did I hear? People even think that, I mean, not me, but like people who have mental illnesses are dangerous, like the ones we talked about in Nigeria. I remember one of my sisters and I would go to church on like the public transport. We would run from mad people, or the mad people on the streets, like run the opposite direction. Even when we just saw them, they didn't have to come to us, we just took off. I mean, that's something that they're dangerous, or they are they cause it for themselves. Like, what you said, they think that's because you smoke weed or you use, marijuana, and that's why you're suffering. That's not the case. Like, people can suffer without these reasons. So let's stop all of this. Let's just stop it. And so when people who are suffering hear these things, for example, my own experience, when people would say that you're lying or you're pretending, in my mind, it will be like, okay, maybe I'm lying. Maybe I'm pretending. People will say that you caused your problem. Maybe I caused my problem. People will say you're unmotivated, you are incompetent. Maybe I caused my problem. Maybe I'm incompetent. But every other thing in my life up until that point has shown otherwise. Yeah. Everything in my life has shown that I am a motivated, hardworking individual who wants to succeed. Yeah. Then I suddenly believe that I'm lazy because I hear people say that I'm lazy. I suddenly believe that it is my fault because I hear people say that it is my fault. And then when I would Google things like, oh, I'm depressed, and then I would see some very crazy things. And then some stigma setting in now, I would label myself a depressed person. So it's just like, okay, I have a headache. I wouldn't say I'm a headache person, but my grandma. It's like, I have someone who has a headache, and eventually this headache will go. I don't start to label myself as, oh, I have a headache, I'm a headache person, and that's the end of me. But for me at that time, it was like, I am a depressed person, and so I am lazy, I am unmotivated, and in some kind of way, I began to leave these things out. So I would, even though I could, sometimes I would be able to get out of bed and do things, because some days were not as bad, but in my mind, I'm lazy, I'm unmotivated, so why am I even trying? Just stay in bed. And then it begins to affect your own self-esteem, you start to look down on yourself. People have, sorry, I'm getting text messages, so I'm very distracted. So people would, people will say these things, and I just want to hide. And I don't want people to see me. Just let me hide and stay by myself. And then it led to a lot of isolation. So when people say these things, you internalize, and then it impacts your own behavior. It leads to isolation, and that's very bad if you're struggling with like any kind of mental illness, because then you become very lonely, and loneliness is not what you need. You doubt your own abilities. So like, I'm in class. Up until this point, I've never failed an exam, but I'm in class, I see an exam, and I'm trembling. I believe that I cannot pass this exam because I am lazy and I'm unmotivated and I'm just doomed. So I'm there and my friends could testify to this. I'm there in an exam and I can't even read the questions because already in my mind is like, this is who I am. I'm not capable of doing difficult things because I am lazy. And so I'll just sometimes I don't even show up to class, just because I didn't even believe that I was supposed to even be in college because you're lazy and lazy people don't go to college. You're unmotivated and unmotivated people don't go to college. Or just these things, these lies that I just believe in my mind. And then when people have this stigma, these stereotypes about people who suffer from mental illnesses, then you see people who don't want to give people who suffer jobs. So, it impacts your opportunities. You can't get good jobs, you can't get opportunities, and even sometimes you don't even want to apply because you already believe that they wouldn't give it to you. And please, people, let's stop all of this. Like, they're lies, big lies. Like, you are more than your illness. If you suffer, you are more than your illness. It's just like these terms, these big words are just words that the medical professionals give to us, so give just come up with so that they can have a name for what you're dealing with and know exactly how to help you. Makes it easy for them to communicate, makes it easy for them to find, medications for you if you need to be medicated. Makes it easy for them to just make everything easier. So don't internalize the disease. You don't internalize headache. You don't internalize stomach pain. So please do not internalize your mental illnesses. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for especially your own openness with bringing your own journey and story into it. Like, I'm really grateful for that, because a lot of times there is that it happened to somebody else, or I heard, and you can't like look at somebody and say, no, this person had that struggle and this person is okay, and be able to actually look at somebody as an example. And honestly, that is very important. I think the only thing I'll add to that, as also somebody who grew up in a Christian community and, with pastor parents and, kind of in church my entire life, is the pray it away part of it. Because you can take drugs, it's all right. and there is, I feel like, when people have, and faith is a very important part of my life, and I've shared that very often on this page and channel. And for people watching, if that's your story too, that's okay. But it doesn't take away from the fact that these are health and clinical conditions that you can actually be treated and get help for. Just like you can take Tylenol or paracetamol for headache, it is okay to take what has been prescribed to you for depression or anxiety or bipolar disorder or anything else that you may be struggling with. And I think that sometimes that gets conflated, that if you're taking medications or any kind of therapy for this, that there's something specially wrong with it, because people are solving their own through prayer that you need to go get help for. And I think there's also that stigma that still surrounds it. I know with you, Dara, for example, like, I'm very open when you don't hear from me for a few days and I'm like, the last 3 days have been rough, and it's okay to talk about that and to actually go into details for where those struggles were. But not everybody's able to do that in their friendships, not everybody's able to actually do that with their family members, and so that isolation is there, because aside the internalized stigma that you may feel, you have actually been in circles with your friends and family where they have outwardly judged other people going through the same thing, or like I heard a lot growing up, this, you can't marry into that family because they are mad people in it. And I still hear that till today, where people are like, you have to make sure that there's no madness in their family. And they put all these mental health challenges into that block of madness, right? And it's that stigma, I feel like, still affects us till today. And it really keeps people from like getting the help that they need, and especially when you're coming from countries that the systems are not as developed, and so there's a lot of abuse and trauma that happens when children are growing up and they never get the help for it. They never get therapy or health or clinical help to deal with those experiences, and now they are full-blown adults in the US or somewhere else trying to navigate a lot of the things that have already happened in their life and affected them. And yet we as a society, we still judge them for the things that they are struggling with and the things that may have happened to them. So not good. We need to do better.
Okay. So I think for me, the first step was just coming to a place where I could love myself, if that makes any sense. Okay, so first of all, you're at this place where, okay, so I'm talking from someone who has actually suffered. So because I didn't become conscious of my mental health until I began to suffer. So I'm talking from that place and how I have come to this point. So I didn't even understand what was going on with me. I didn't understand me. And I knew that people in my life at that time did not understand me. It was very chaotic. There was a lot of chaos going on in my life. So I had to come to a place where I love myself. And sometimes when you're suffering and sometimes you've done not so nice things to people, you already have all of this, like, people that don't like you. And even yourself, sometimes you feel unlovable. But you have to realize that you're really the only person you have. I mean, you have friends, but when everyone is gone and at the end of the day, at night, by yourself, it's you. You face yourself. So you have to come to a point of, I love me, even though I'm struggling at this point. And out of that love, then that love drives you to seek help, because I love myself enough to want to find support for myself. So my next step was going to therapy. I went to counseling. Basically, one day in class, it was biochemistry class, I remember somebody told me, oh, the school has a counseling center. I was like, do it? She said yes. And I took my bags and I went straight to the counseling center. It was very normal. Like every office on campus, no one was looking at me any type of way. I sat down and I saw a therapist. And that therapy for me was transformational. Literally, I've been in therapy since 2017 up until today, and it's been like how many years now? 5 years. Like literally, just learning about myself, learning about new ways to love myself, learning about new ways to cope with stressors in my life, cope with difficult situations in my day-to-day life. And something that I did was I came to a place where I had to also become accountable. So accountability for me was, okay, fine, you suffer, but there are also some character traits that are not very good. Maybe look at those things and try to work on those things, and maybe make peace with people that you've done not so nice things to. So that way you're at peace with everybody, and that peace helps because now you know that I am at peace. That's like a big part, just being at peace with yourself. And then moving on from there, I tried to talk to my friends first of all before my family. And my friends were very useful, very instrumental in my healing. They didn't understand what was going on. We're all like, how old? 17-year-olds in America trying to navigate life. And it's, honestly, they didn't get it. So what they did was they listened to me a lot. Like just saying, listening to the things I was saying, whether they made sense or not, they listened. They read about it. So if you have friends that are suffering, maybe you can listen to them, read about what they're talking about, whether or not you understand. Try to read about it. My friends came with me to therapy because learning from the professional was useful for them, because sometimes I didn't even have the right words to explain what I was going through. And so learning from the professional was very useful. And the next step was going to my family, talking to my family. That was the harder part, because it was just like, how can you be a Christian and suffer? It didn't make sense to my parents, at least. But then my therapist was very useful. They wrote letters, emails, upon emails, just detailing. Literally, there was one that was like almost 3 pages long, just detailing why a person will suffer and how to help a person who is suffering. And these emails from America to Nigeria, and my parents kept reading them, trying to learn, trying to understand. Sometimes they were resistant, like, this doesn't quite make sense, but then they were willing to learn and just really support me. So having friends and family in my team, they were willing to support me, was very instrumental. And another step was basically just, I got to a point where I wanted to take care of myself, take care of my body, and for me that entailed. I mean, it was very difficult at first, just having all these bad habits. But like, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to eat that. I'm not going to expose myself to that. I'm not going to read this. I'm not going to drink that. And even like just setting up boundaries with the people that you let into your life. It's a gradual process. It's not something that you just land in one day. It doesn't happen in one day. It could take years, because you've learned these habits over years, and you're not going to unlearn them in one day. So it takes time. It's a process. Just be patient with yourself. Grace yourself. Give yourself a lot of grace. Like, think about it. If your friend was suffering, right? How would you treat them? Extend that level of grace to yourself and give yourself grace. And another thing that I learned that was very useful for me was, it is okay to take breaks. It's okay to be useless on some days. And I know that it sounds my parents are paying millions of naira or thousands of dollars or whatever your country's currency is for me to be here in America, or I have this scholarship that I have to maintain this GPA to keep. I get it. But it's okay to be useless. Day, if you want to just watch TV on that day, just watch it. If all you want to do on that day is to sleep, just sleep. if you want to just talk to your family on that day, just talk to your family. Because the truth is that if you're not okay, you cannot read and understand and do well in school. It's like you're going to constantly feel choked. At least for me, I constantly felt choked. Like I began to hate my major. I was in love with biology before, but at that point, I felt very stifled. I hated biology. I wanted to change my major. I was going to just change my major. I even considered dropping out of school because I was tired. I just wanted to rest. And I was a pre-med, so I understand the stress of going to college. But it's okay to just take a break. One day is not going to change the course of your destiny. You're still going to be a doctor. You're still going to be a lawyer. You're going to be an amazing engineer. Whatever you want to do, but just take a break. Take a break and rest. These are some of the things that I began to do in the early days, and as I just kept on going, I learned the importance of just getting to know me. You know people, you say that, oh, I know that person, but do you know yourself? Like I said earlier, at the end of the day, when it's night time and the lights are turned off and it's just you're with yourself, it's you and you. So you have to get to a point where you are acquainted with yourself. You know yourself, you befriend yourself, and that means just learning the things that you like, the things that you enjoy, the things that stress you, the things that you want to do, and engaging in those things. For me, I realized that I love to hike. That's something that in college, when I first got to college, they said, I said, hiking, what? I'm here from Nigeria. I have to pass my exam. I never did those things because I just felt like I couldn't do those things. But I began to go hiking. Something I love to do that is crazy is I like to count the stars. At night, I go out, I sit down, and I gaze into the skies, and I count the stars one after the other. And I see that star has moved. Did it really move? I will try to keep one eye on this star. I find it very relaxing. I find it very enjoyable. It's just like I'm in touch with myself. I'm in touch with nature, and I feel like I'm part of something that is bigger than me. And this helps me just keep a sane mind. Helps me I'm just happy. It just makes me happy. Like, okay, life is not it's not all bad. There is good parts to life, and just those are some of the things that I did to just move and maintain my own mental health.
Okay. I love it. I'm definitely taking this. I've never tried counting the stars. Now, that's something I'm going to try to. But this winter is that last one to be
Take
great.
your blanket and wrap yourself. I can't decide. Nothing is going to stop you.
Oh wow! Somebody just said that they are proud of you, Dara,
Thank you very much,
absolutely echo the words of that person. Like I've been lucky and really blessed to know you for at least the past 4 or 5 years, and oh my goodness, like, the you that you were in 2017 and the you that you are today. Like I wish people could get a snapshot and to see how amazing your growth and your healing has been. And I just absolutely love that, I was lucky enough to meet you and, just kind of be friends with you since then. So you know how I feel about you. So I think for me, starting to take control of my mental health, it's hard to pinpoint exactly when I started, but I feel like I was doing one leg in, one leg out until probably early last year. And just like you, I started some things that I was struggling with started to actually become louder, and it was time to get help. And to provide more context to that, I struggle with a lot of fear and anxiety about the future and things that are uncertain around me. And it could really get to the point where I feel very crippled, that I can't actually function well in a particular day. And I am a type A personality. I am otherwise somebody who is pretty hard to keep up with. And so just like you said, you cannot then judge yourself as being lazy or when you have a problem, when there are, really you have a track record to show that no, something is going on today that needs help. And so talking to people has been very helpful. I feel like I have friends that I can really be open with and say, I struggle today, or I have been struggling for the past, couple of days or weeks. And that I don't take that for granted. If you're watching this and you don't have people in your life that you can do that with, be intentional about showing up as your authentic self moving forward, whether it's in current friendships that you have or friendships that you're going to cultivate, because a community, you can make up for that when it comes to mental health. Like having a community that is safe, a community that is healthy, a community where you could be open and honest, and it's not the end of your relationship, or they don't only want to see one side of you, is very helpful in being mentally healthy. I also started therapy early last year, and honestly, it has been great. And I had years where I would recommend therapy to people, but I just would not go myself. And so like, people would talk, I'd be like, have you thought about therapy? I heard it's really amazing. You should try it. Me, personally, I did not go. And so having to really point that hand at myself and be like, okay, let me go see what this is all about. And the way I explain it to people, it's that there are people that have gone to school up until PhD level to know the exact question to ask you, to know how to get into your head, to know how to untangle your thoughts, to know how to give you tools that can help you navigate your spaces in a healthy way. These people are trained to do that work. It's just like if you go to the hospital and you need surgery, right? Somebody has gone through rigorous training to know how to cut you open, fix you, and make sure that you wake up at the end of it. There are people who have gone through something different, but to get into your brain through conversations and to help you navigate those thoughts and to help you get back to a healthy space, but also give you tools that you could use to navigate that better. That's what therapy is. Like, if you think about it that way, there is no reason why you shouldn't go. If you have your yearly physical checkup, if you go to the doctor or whoever for something, then you can go to a psychologist or a therapist for your mental health.
There are people that give the meds.
Yes, and a psychiatrist. Yes, exactly. You could go to a psychiatrist for your mental health. And so there is no reason to cut out that significant part of care out of your life as though it doesn't exist. And I think this is a nice segue into that popular talk of, but our grandmothers did not need it, or our parents did not need it, and they turned out okay. Who told you they turned out okay? Like, are you paying attention?
Yeah.
Can you see, like, they also had their challenges, even raising you as a child, that maybe if they knew to go seek out that resource, they would have done things differently. And of course, they're amazing and they did the best that they could. But you are now living in a time where these conversations are happening. These tools are available. These resources are available. So what is your excuse for not taking advantage of it and really making sure that you are your best possible self? And honestly, I look back, it's actually been exactly a year that I started therapy, and the growth, like just being able to, like, I don't know, find my voice, identify what is me, like separate the fact that, okay, all right, you're having a moment, like these are the things you need to do, these are the steps you need to take, okay, change your environment and setting. Like, I've wondered why I have struggled for years with those days that are harder, when there were tools that I could have learned, or there was somebody that was trained to help me navigate this space. So I highly recommend it if you're in a space where you have a job that has insurance, or you're an international student and you have student health insurance. It covers therapy. It does cover therapy in a lot of places. Take advantage of it. Like, you will notice a difference when you are more intentional. And don't wait until you're in crisis mode. For some people, they never get there. They just learn how to function in dysfunction. So they never get to the point where they are in a bathroom floor, unable to get up, or crying for days on end. They just get to the point where they are very negative. They don't know how to interact in a healthy space with people. They expect validation from people all the time. They blame people for their shortcomings, or they blame themselves for everything that is going wrong in the world, and they just function in that dysfunction for years. And I think what we're trying to say is that you don't have to be either. You don't have to get to the point where you're in crisis, and you don't have to pattern your life in a way that is unhealthy for you mentally or for those around you before you become intentional about getting help. But what should international students know about mental health?
Okay. So like I said earlier, your mental health, your physical health, spiritual health, social health, and intellectual health, and any other part of it, like, you can think of, they're all part of the overall, like your overall health. They are all important parts of your overall health. So you cannot isolate your physical health and isolate your mental health. You cannot isolate any part of your health. Like, everything has to come together well for you to be a healthy person. So I think when you hear mental health, don't just immediately go to, oh, I'm crazy or something is wrong. It is normal, a normal part of your health that should be taken seriously and should be, taken care of like every other part. You don't go out when you have a headache. You don't say, I'm not going to use anything. I'm just going to go and try to see when this goes. You don't do that. The same attention you should pay to your mental health when you begin to notice that you're not okay and not doing as you normally would. It's time to reach out for help. It's time to seek help. And something else that I would also like to just remind international students about is that I know that being an international is incredibly difficult. Like, it's one thing to be in your country and to be with friends and family there, and having to be in another man's country and be in a place where sometimes you don't even have any family. You're the only person that you know, apart from the friends that you make in college, and the only person that you know when you arrive to the country. And it can be very difficult. You can suffer from loneliness. You can suffer from all kinds of things. And to make it more complex, sometimes people struggle with their finances. People struggle with food, academics. So all these things can come together to impact your mental health. And some people even come with like a lot of baggage from their home country, from childhood. And these are things that while you're in your country, you don't even think about, because sometimes it's not the perfect atmosphere to even realize that you have a problem. But when you get to the new country and you have all of this time and you are going through life by yourself, you begin to realize that maybe I have some childhood trauma that I need to work through, and then everything is just there on you at the same time while you're an international student in a foreign country. It is hard, incredibly difficult. And so, other than like all of the extra things that we do, with life by itself is just difficult. So like life is hard, and so it's okay to struggle. It is okay to have moments where you just need to breathe. You just need to take a break and just go away and breathe. It's okay to have moments where you just don't feel like your normal self. It's okay. It's all normal. It's normal part of just being a human being, being an adult, being a student. But it's not okay to just stay there. It's not okay to just sit in all of that and just be there. That's the point where you need to start to reach out to people, ask for help, have friends, like be intentional. Like Winie said, be intentional about, showing up as your authentic self, and through that process, meeting like-minded individuals, people from your host country, from your home country, and from other countries that are like you and could provide support for you. Joining student organizations. Like if there is, for example, my campus, we had an African Student Association. If you have one like that, join it. If you have an Asian Council in your campus, join it. If there is something for Black students, join it. Like whatever it is, go and join those organizations so that you can, just stay afloat, have people in your life. Talk to your friends and family from back home. Don't abandon them once you come here, because your support system, these are people that you've known all your life. So it's okay to just cut ties and just move and start a new life. Reach out to them every once in a while for help and for support. Yeah, but struggling is totally normal. Having like bad days is totally normal, and your mental health is like an important part of your health that you should take seriously.
Amen. I agree 100%. Everything. And I think I already said this, but I'll say it again. International students are required to have health insurance. A lot of times it either comes from the school directly or they make you get one from an outside person. A lot of times, actually more often than not, that health insurance also covers, maybe if you visit to a therapist or a visit to a psychiatrist. And so like you already are paying for that every semester or every year. So find out what's available and take advantage of it. So like that's something that I did not know when I was an undergraduate student, and now I tell everybody that cares to, know, like it's not only when you break your leg or when you actually have a fever, like you can actually use your insurance for other services, including mental health. And also another thing I would say is, as international students, our backgrounds are different. I feel like some people come from homes or communities that are more progressive than others. So wherever you are on that spectrum, it is okay to speak up. And so if there's anything that you can start doing today after listening to us, it's unlearning the silence and the shame that is attached to mental illness or mental health. Like unlearning that. And I'm talking to everybody, male, female, wherever you fall, like unlearn that. Become more present in, I want to address this. Like I'm usually so happy every time I see African men or black men talking about mental health, because it is a unicorn. As a matter of fact, like I feel like a lot of them would completely understand that this is something to talk about, but to actually take steps to do something about it is something that I still see as a struggle. And so showing up, in those spaces that I talked about, all these student organizations, start having those conversations there too. Like have, as part of your meeting, like talk about it, find out if people need help them connect to help, right? Like make sure that this is something that is talked about often in multiple spaces, so that people can see that we are not being silent anymore. I was reflecting on the fact that a lot of international students go through like a phase of depression when they come to the US or wherever for the first time, and nobody talks about it. You leave your entire family, like 99.9% of the people you have known your whole life, or sometimes the people you even know in life at all, and you come to a different country, you're by yourself. You maybe talk to your parents or your family once a day. Some people is once a week, some people is once a month, right? And then you are navigating this lonely space until you start to meet people and make friends. You're learning a culture, and nobody talks about just that period of fear and sadness that goes on with this transition. Now, granted, a lot of us like overcome it and move forward, and we're like, "Ooh, that was rough." But what are the resources that you have available to you when you're going through that? They are available, right? And so taking advantage of those things and knowing that you can actually use them, very important. And if you are home thinking about coming, to any of these countries to start school, it's not too early to start to talk about mental health and resources. Don't wait until you have traveled, right? You can even email as you're preparing to travel. Find out where things are, where you can start. A lot of people get their first help for something traumatic that happened to them when they leave home, because those resources are not as readily available at home. And so if you are in that boat where you know that you need help and you need help soon, you can start to identify those resources before you travel. And I'm very sure that when you send that email, people will be hopefully willing to help you navigate that space and get things kind of ready and good to go. Okay. So we already touched on this, but is there anything you would like to add? What are some resources available for mental health to international students?
Okay, so the first one is go to your school's counseling center. Schools have a counseling center, and if you don't have one on campus, they usually have some way for you to get counseling, some way to get access to counseling. So go and use that resource. You already pay for it, as Winie has said. Use it. And another thing I would say is most schools also have some kind of care team. That's not the counseling center. And the care team, they could call it a different thing at your school, but they usually have like an academic support center. They usually have financial support. They usually have like a food bank, and what else? Just things that can potentially cause you to be stressed and impact your mental health, you really have those resources. So you can, if you are suffering from any kind of mental illness and you see that it's going to impact your academic performance, could get tutoring from your academic support. If you're not, you don't even have to struggle. If you don't see that you're beginning to struggle and it's impacting your, your mental health, you're beginning to have anxiety, you get anxious about your grades, go get help from the academic support. If you find out that you might not be able to get your money for that semester to pay your school fees, go talk to someone from the financial office. They most likely have some kind of need-based scholarship or have some emergency loans that the school could grant to you. They have these resources. You just have to go and ask them. They also have what's it called now? Food banks. If you're struggling with money and you don't have food, go to the food bank or food pantry, whatever your school calls it. Go and take free food. It's free. You don't have to pay down for it. And they're actually good quality stuff. I used to go to the food bank in college. And it was good. When my friends and I would go and take a trip to the food bank, I would get quality good food. So use these resources. Another thing I would like to mention is, I know that Winie can speak to this, is that talk to your professors. Sometimes they just, you're there in class, you're obviously struggling, they can see a downward trend in your grades, and something is wrong with you, but you're not going to talk to them because you're scared. But yet, they're your professors and they're there to help you. And sometimes, not sometimes, most times, they actually want you to come to seek help and ask them for whatever you need, accommodations with your deadlines, extend, and of course, don't be entitled to these things. Nobody owes you anything. But if you see that you can totally not meet up, maybe talk to them and see the kind of grade that they extend to you. So when you do have anything to say to that, like going to your professors?
You have covered everything, even the one that I didn't think about, you have talked about. People often say a closed mouth does not get fed, but I would say it's harder to reach out when you are in crisis or when you are actively struggling. And so we've said it in multiple ways, not to wait until that time. And so you can start to identify and connect with these resources before you're in a position where it's difficult for you to make that initial connection. Some schools have an easier process than others. Some other schools you might have like a runaround before you actually get what you need. So starting when you're in at least a mental space that you're able to navigate whatever is going to come with, but at least you connect with these organizations, you know who to email and who to call. Like, it's something that you should do as you're getting acclimated with like any new setting or any new environment. So definitely agree with everything Dara said. I think talking from the professor part, some of you know, or most of you know, that I am currently a professor. And so like I would say at my current university, we get actually a training pack to like help students in crisis. And so I would hope that every university does some version of that. I don't know to what extent, but know that your professors have at least a phone number or an email that they can give to you at the minimum. Some schools may give them more at their disposal to use or do, some people less, but I'm sure that at the minimum they will know who to point you to. And so yes, if you don't know anywhere to start or anybody to talk to your professor. And honestly, financial challenges are one of the hardest, man, if not the hardest. Not knowing where that tuition is going to come from, they keep telling you there's a scholarship available. It is really hard. And so like really talking to people, and sometimes when you even connect with the counseling center, they have other tools that you're not aware of to help at least reduce that immediate pressure that you're feeling and give you some additional time to get what you need to sort out whatever the source of that stressor is. So yeah.
To add something to that for like the professionals, because we just focus on the students. Like when you graduate from college, I know it's like, okay, I'm no longer a student, we don't have this counseling center anymore. But like if you have a job, most employers will provide you with some kind of health insurance like benefit. You can just enroll on that, get that health insurance so that you can actually go to therapy, because most of the health insurance will cover your therapy, cover like the hospital visit and all of that. So you use that for your own benefit. And there are some websites where you can actually just go on, because I know that it can be quite overwhelming to find a therapist. So it's like, how do I even find a therapist? I don't know where to go. There are websites you can go on. One is BetterHelp, one is Headway, Talk Help, there is Teledoc or Teladoc. There's a bunch of them. Literally just do a Google search, how to find a therapist, and you see all of these websites. And then you can just go over, like, click them one after the other and see if the therapist takes your insurance, if they're in your location. Thank God with the pandemic, now some therapists have the virtual opportunity. So you don't have to go into their office. I do my therapy from my bed, from my car sometimes. Like I'm running late, I'm like, okay, let's just do therapy in the car on my bed. And they don't care. They don't care how you show up. They just want to see you. So it makes it very easy. And if you prefer the one-on-one experience in that office, because I know that sometimes the office has a sense of like just makes you feel safe. So it's like the only safe space you have in the world. I know what that feels like. You can also go into their office and talk to them. They're happy to have you. And ultimately, they just really want to help you. Don't be afraid of a therapist. They're on your team. They want to help you survive the difficulty that you're going through.
Yes. Yes, and they also have the same confidentiality requirements that other healthcare professionals have. So if you're afraid that some of the things that you're going to share, I mean, I'm sure that there are certain limits, which is you either wanting to hurt yourself or wanting to hurt people in your life. But I think there is a wide range of things you can share that you don't have to worry getting out, that it will get out to either your place of work or where you go to school or anything like that. You can actually feel safe to share those things. I agree. Yes to everything that I said. And you're right, sometimes when you leave that safety net of schools and you have to now navigate these things on your own, it could be, somewhat of a hassle. So definitely my recommendation is when you know that you're graduating, to start to think about transitioning your care, whether it is if you know where you're going to work or where you're going to move to. You could start to like find out, okay, is there a therapist around there, the healthcare providers there, so that you could start that process of transition, as opposed to waiting until everything has ended and now you have this 2 or 3 months period before you find somebody new that'll take over. So
I also want to add something to that. Actually, it just keeps coming. So there's also I know that we have to do the maintenance work, and we also, when you're in crisis, you have to seek help. But there's also some people that need even more help. Some people need to go to behavioral like hospitals. They need to go to inpatient hospitals, like actually be there in psychiatric hospitals. And I know that there's a lot of stigma associated to that. So it's like this is a place for the craziest of the craziest. No, these people that go there are like regular, normal people. I've actually been to two of those facilities myself, so I can talk from experience. They're normal people who just have struggles like you. And so if you need to go to one of those places, there is no shame in doing that. There's no shame in like going and needing help and asking for help. There's no shame in having to step away from school for some days or weeks to be in a place where you can actually get help. If you broke your leg, for example, you're not going to hide out in your room and hope that the leg will just get fixed. You're going to go to a hospital. And I know that it's like, okay, well, my disease is not physical. No one sees it. But it's there. And that's not obvious, doesn't make it unreal. It is very real. So please go. And I know that you can also be concerned as an international student, like, how does that affect my status? I know that's a legit concern that I had, but I think there is an accommodation for that. I'll let Winie speak to this. Like, I know that, I didn't get off status, I didn't get kicked out of school, so somehow something covered that. So Winie, if you know, like, the process of the medical leave and all of that, I'll let you speak to that.
Absolutely. And so there is definitely accommodation for that. Of course, you would have to let your DSO know that you would not be taking classes for a while, or your professors know that you're going to be, away. It's similar to getting admitted to the hospital for like anything. And so this one is not any different. As long as you inform people where you are, your professors know that you're going to be back, and maybe have a plan for you to make up your work. It doesn't affect your status in any way if you need to go into some kind of behavioral health facility to get the help that you need. But thank you so much for pointing out that, because I feel like whether it's movies or shows, like the image that people have about psychiatric hospitals, not good at all. And yes, from at least as someone who did, the mental health piece part of my training, like, it's regular people are there, people with full-time jobs adults, families,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
students,
Mm-hmm.
regular people just
Yeah.
like you who just
Mm-hmm.
need a little bit more help are
Mm-hmm.
the people there, and they get better and they go back to
Mm-hmm.
their life. And so, if
Exactly.
there's nothing wrong with you needing that level of care, because that's just what
Mm-hmm.
you need a little bit more help. And
Yes.
and once you are, okay, you'll be able to rejoin your life back. And so
Mm-hmm.
please do not run away from that. If there's a part of you, or if there's something you need that is calling you to get help beyond just a virtual therapy meeting or a physical therapy meeting, it is
Mm-hmm.
a-okay.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Okay, so my next question is, how do you identify low periods in your mental health, and what do you do about it?
Okay. So going back to what I kind of said before, like know yourself. Like know yourself. Get to a point where you know yourself. You know you. I mean, maybe your normal at this point is not very okay, but just think about your life. A moment in your life where you felt, I mean, okay, you felt functional. And so if you begin to feel differently than that, for example, you're crying more than normal. Like it's okay to cry. Crying is a part of life. But if you're crying more than normal, things that would normally not trigger you, it's not triggering you and making you cry. Maybe something your mental health is not where it should be. If you're now like oversleeping or undersleeping, like you're not sleeping at all, you're just not able to sleep, or you're now just wanting to sleep every single time, something might be wrong with you. If you're now eating more than normal, if you're or eating less than normal, maybe something may be wrong with you. If you're feeling hopeless or just irritable, like you're just angry, you don't enjoy the things that you used to enjoy before. If you love to swim and you just don't want to even see a pool anymore, maybe something might be wrong with you. If you just have this overwhelming sense of shame, guilt, like those feelings are not normal feelings, and no one deserves to be living with those feelings. Necessarily anxious, some level of anxiety is normal. If you're going to make a presentation or going for an interview, you should be anxious. It shows that you care about it. But if now everything you do, you're just anxious about everything, or even more than normal, you should seek help, because that's not normal. It's not normal. You shouldn't be living with that kind of anxiety. And one I'd also like to just mention is, and I know that this one is very, but if you begin to just consider, you don't even have to have an active plan to
Right.
kill yourself. If you begin to think about it, like for example, the thought of death is not, doesn't sound bad, or like the idea of dying doesn't sound bad. That's something. That's the sign that you're not okay, because the normal human like reaction is to self-preserve. You want to protect yourself. You see a car coming and you run away because you don't want to get hit by that car. But if you're now walking in front of the car and you're wanting the car to hit you, then something is wrong with you. And if you begin to get to a point where you see other people and you want to harm them, or you see, if you just see yourself and you're thinking about, now you now begin to make an active plan. They call it passive when you don't intend to, like you don't have any plan, but like an active plan to kill yourself. Then at that point, you need to reach out for help, because you're not okay. You're not okay, and it's okay to not be okay. Like we've said the entire time, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to need help. At that point, maybe you reach out to your friends, because sometimes you might not even know the process of getting help, but reach out to your friends, and hopefully your friends are in a good place, well informed, to be able to find you the help that you need. And that's why we said the entire time as well, like when you're not, before you get to a point where you're in crisis, make sure that you have the resources, that you know the numbers to call, you know the people to reach out to, you're informed, you know, you're aware. So then when you need help desperately, you know where to go and what to do. So yes.
I don't honestly think there's anything else I can add to that. I feel like you covered everything, every single thing. Okay. All right. So the next question is, how can we support each other, international students, to be both, well, healthy in general, but I think in line with our conversation, emotional and mental health?
Okay, so again, being an international student is hard. It's very hard. Just being here is hard sometimes. I mean, your friends back home probably think you're chilling, you have nicer skin, fresher skin, but sometimes they don't understand the intricacies of your life now. So, like, we know that it's hard, and you, as a fellow international student, you also know that it is hard. So maybe sometimes just extend that level of grace to your friends, and just acknowledge that we are all struggling together. That's the first point. Just first step. Just acknowledge we are all struggling. And so when you can, this is not even like, you don't even have to have a super level of empathy to be able to acknowledge and see someone else's struggle. And then the next step is just being a kind person, being compassionate. I think that point cannot be overemphasized. Being compassionate, you have to have a compassionate heart. You know what it feels like to be in these shoes. So don't see someone who is struggling and just turn your back. No. Listen to your friends. Some of these things do not make sense. Somebody can come and tell you that they don't feel like they're in their body. It's like, are you flying?
Yeah.
You've never heard that before. It's almost like, are you a witch? Are you an obanje? That's like the first reaction. But it's just like, but you want to listen more. Okay, what does that feel like? Tell me exactly the things that you're feeling. How can I help you at this time? Ask questions that show that you support them and you are there for them. And if anything, let them know. Like, verbalize it and say, I am here for you if you need anything. That's very important. And I think that also, like I said earlier, having resources, being informed yourself, being educated, before anyone gets into crisis, know the resources, and everyone encourage us go out together. But if you see your friend doing things that are not not nurturing, that could potentially harm them, maybe like, oh, my friend, this is not potentially good for you. Let's go this way. Just being accountable to one another. That's very important. And I also like to say that if you're a person who is suffering, please be patient with your friends, because sometimes you're suffering and you cannot even see the world from other people's perspective. Like, literally, the grass is no longer green. So you're not seeing anything. You're just seeing your own stuff in your own bubble. But your friends, your family members have never dealt with anything like this. So you need to be patient with them, grace them, let them learn, give them the opportunity to learn, and communicate with them. I know that it can be very difficult to be vulnerable. Like, you don't want to be like the girl who is always the attention, the center of attention at the gatherings. You don't want to be the friend who always needs help. But it's okay to be vulnerable sometimes, and just let them see through you. Let them into your space, into your bubble, and let them see what is happening. And for the person who is caring for someone who is suffering, as a caretaker, you also need to protect yourself, because it can be incredibly overwhelming to care for someone who is suffering. I've been there, I've suffered, and I've cared for someone who is suffering. And if you don't protect yourself, you would somehow just get dragged down. If you don't have resources to maintain your own mental health, you don't have resources to keep keep your mental health at the level it's supposed to be. And it's okay sometimes to take time to take care of yourself, set boundaries, and do things that you enjoy. You don't have to get lost in caring for a friend, but ultimately be compassionate. Show your friends that I am here for you. Everyone, all of us, let's have a strong bond, and we know that if anything, we have each other.
You hit all the nails. You really did. I honestly can't think of anything to add to that. I think that I just want to emphasize the part of being vulnerable and also creating space for other people's vulnerability. I was listening to this audiobook by Brené Brown, and I know she's really cool. And she said something about, like, ask yourself, is the reason you don't ask for help because you look down on other people who ask for help? Because a lot of times it's like, oh no, I don't want to burden other people, or I don't want to make other people feel weird around me. Is it because that's how you feel when people ask you for help? Because if that's not how you feel, then you need to extend the grace that you extend to other people who are struggling to yourself. Honestly, it changed my perspective on what it means to actually open up yourself and say, I'm struggling, this thing is hard for me. Because if you don't judge people when they do it to you, then don't judge yourself when you need to do it. Now, if you do judge people when they do it to you, then you should address that, so that again you can be at that point where you not only create space for other people to be vulnerable, where you yourself can step into that aspect of your own life. And just like Dara has honestly said everything. If you're taking care of people, I have been, on both sides, and I know that it's hard. And everybody reacts to this differently. I have friends that are like tough loves, like, okay, you're going to sleep for 2 hours and then you're going to get up. Then I also have friends that will feed you soup all day if that's what you need, right? Like, and knowing the kind of person that you are and being honest about your limits, right? Like, we're not saying that now you become the caretaker of everybody, but being able to say, okay, I will check on you at so and so time. I'm going to go to my own class now. I'm going to go do this thing for myself, but I'll come back and check on you at this time. We're not saying spend the whole day in this person's room or let them spend the whole day in your room if you cannot accommodate that. Like, you should be able to say, okay, this is what I need to do, but I will show up at this time for you. And do show up for that person because they may need you. And also recognize when you are at your limit. If this person has all these needs, you're not a therapist. You don't have any skills or training to do this. Be able to say, I can be your friend, but you need more help than I can provide. So what do you think about going to get this help that you need that I can provide for you? I don't know how to talk you through this or out of this. What I can do for you is sit on the floor with you. I don't know what else to say, and there are friends that talk. Like me and Dara, we can talk. We talk a lot. There are also friends that they don't know how to talk that much, or they don't talk as much, but they can be there for you in other ways. They just will not be the kind of talking therapy that you need. So knowing the kind of friend that you are and the kind of friend that you need would also help you create that support space for each other. And I want to say this again, I've said it before, in your international student organizations or African student unions, whatever it's called, talk about mental health. Like, start to create this safe space for that, and also bring in resources or point people to resources as the case may be. Right, we are on our last question. I know. What are some simple practical steps you take daily, or simple routines that you do to stay mentally healthy?
Okay. Well, this is very simple. Anyone will tell you this. A quick Google search will tell you this. Eat well, eat healthy, eat food that actually nourish your body, sleep well, get at least 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Please don't pull on items that break your sleep patterns. Please sleep, exercise. I know that one is, I don't have time, I'm a pre-med, I'm busy. But find out 30 minutes in your day to just take a walk on campus is good enough. Exercise. I try to also do things that I enjoy to do. So I hike, I canvas, I read, I talk to my friends, do things that you actually enjoy doing. And then talk to your friends, their family members. Don't abandon your friends. They're part of your team, your friends back home, your family back home. Talk to them, reach out to them. I think that those are simple things that would help anyone stay afloat. Like, just make sure that you do these things daily, and of course in a realistic way. Don't overdo anything, but also make sure that you're doing these things. Yeah.
I love it. The only thing I'll add to what you said is like being intentional about your own happiness and your own health. It's something that I started asking myself last year, and honestly, I love it. It changes the way I look at my day and the way I look at planning my day. It is, what do I need to do today to show myself love, or what can I do today to make me happy, and whatever that means for you, do it. And so for me, I love my cup of coffee. I don't joke with it. It truly makes me very happy. And if a day I need to show myself some extra love, I would drive to Dunkin' and buy the one that another person made. But I do love my cup of coffee. And I also love watching movies and TV. And so even if it's a plan to do that at the end of the day, with a plate of food, something that is just a me, self-love, me time thing. Honestly, it does a lot, because sometimes when your whole day is about things or people, or stuff, and you don't actually find that time to like take care of the you that is you, it creates an opportunity to spiral into a negative place. And so starting to do things that is like, okay, what can I do to be happy today? What can I do to show myself love? Like starting to think about your life and your day in that way, and doing those little things or big things as the case may be, would really, really make a difference in how your mental health starts to play out. So, hey,
yes, we did.
I was so serious. We had a coherent conversation.
I know. I know. And I think because it's a serious thing, we can't be laughing and laughing, but we didn't have fun too. Yeah. I love you so much. Thank you so much for bringing me on. I feel like I can talk about this all day.
Now I'm just thinking about how, like, I don't know that many people that know how to talk about this as good as you do. Maybe I know.
I'm calling you I'm excited.
You honestly did. And so please, we will actually put like Dara's NGO page on our story so that you can click and follow. But she is amazing. So what's coming up for you in the future, as much as you want to share? Because I mean, we know the backstory, but what's the highlight of this year looking like for you? But what do you feel about sharing?
This year, I'm actually really excited about this year, actually. So, with my NGO, we started late last year, like just trying to put things together. But I'm excited about like all the things we're going to do this year, the meetings and all the impact we're going to make. That's what makes me super excited. See, I didn't even think that this was going to be a thing like coming on IG Live. So maybe I'll do more of that this year. So I'm really excited about it. And hopefully, like just getting some more. Like reading some more. I really like to listen to audiobooks. I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it. And I'm just so excited about doing like listening to audiobooks and just being in my bed. I'm excited. And just making new friends, doing the things I love to do. And I'm actually currently shopping for telescopes and binoculars.
Oh wow.
I'm going to launch myself into space. I'm going to space. To count my stars. I'm very excited about that too. It makes me feel like, like an astronaut, just having all of these things. I don't even know how to shop for these things, but I'm shopping. Hopefully I find like really affordable ones. And yes, that's some of the things I'm super excited about this year. Just doing more and loving myself, learning, growing, and all of that fun stuff. What about you?
Yay.
Follow us though. Thank you for following. Hey, you think very fast. Again.
Yes, and so I echo a lot of the things that you talked about doing, like living. My theme for this year is happy, so choosing to be happy. And like I think that at least the past 2 weeks, the steps that I have taken, like how like I'm thinking better, I'm really grateful for that, and how I'm also speaking up in my thoughts and speaking up like to my friends and people around me. I'm grateful for that, and I want to continue that this year. I know that this is still hush hush, but you're going to forgive me. I'm going to just like hint it a little bit.
Sprinkle.
Just sprinkle small like this.
I've never done an IG Live. It's like I didn't even know how to join. So I was like, I've never done this. Like, how am I going to join? So I saw the thing pop like, thank God, there's a way to join. But I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. So if you joined us kind of in the middle or towards the end, this is going to be on our page at Winie Student World. And you can watch and catch up, play it while you're eating, running, in the bathroom, whatever works for you. And just kind of listen to our conversation. I still want to know your thoughts. Super human being, and she'll be very happy to like talk and point you in the direction that you need to get pointed at. But thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Catch up on the FaceTime. Bye everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Bye everyone.